Welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate and Stuff, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of real estate investing and the random stuff that makes life interesting. I'm joined by my solitary co-host, PP, Papa P, from Ted Sysops. Carlos is out in the city of Houston right now, doing a bunch of, I think, like 3 different kind of events.
Crushing it.
So if you're at an event in Houston, go look for Carlos. He'll be at the carrot table. So go say hi to Carlos and the rest of the carrot team that are there. I think there's like 3 or 4 of them there.
I think it's a huge letdown. And you can send this message to Trevor if he's listening. I think it's a huge letdown that at every single fucking event and table that they host, they don't have a big fucking tray of carrots and dip for people to eat while talking. I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? Like, how baller would that be? Like, just to play on that and have like a basket of baby carrots and like some ranch and blue cheese dip, and just like, come on, dude, how did he let that one slip with a name like that?
Usually somebody's in a carrot and some.
I would
like
rather
orange.
be eating carrots.
You'd rather be eating carrots.
I'd rather. Plus, they help your eyesight and helps people see.
They should be able to organize that. That'd be pretty funny.
You drop that to them, and I don't mind if you steal it as your own. You'd be like, "Hey guys, I have this idea.
I've got this brilliant idea."
You know how many people would flock to your table just for that? They would just be there talking to you just to eat the carrots.
Yep. They could do like a voting system, like do you use a carrot website, and if you do, you get the premium dips, and if you don't, you get the other ones, and they'll know who doesn't, and then they can start talking to them.
Put your email down for free carrots and dip and just a lead magnet. And think about when you're in the grocery store, like, and you go up and you're like trying out this like thing, and you pretend. You're like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna go buy these chicken nuggets. Oh, where is this located? What aisle? Can I have another one? And you're never gonna buy them. You're just like eating, and you're trying to be nice, play the game.
Yep, definitely done that before. Are you starting to rock a mustache? What's going on over there?
You know, thank you for noticing. It took a day in my household for my wife to notice. It took her to the end of the day. And she was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, I've been watching Magnum PI recently."
He's got a killer mustache.
And like, so like, you know how you have that bedtime show? So like my wife falls asleep and I'm watching Magnum PI. And I was just looking at him like, I can fucking do that. I can do that. Like, why not? Why am I not doing that? And so I'm starting it, and like, I
like it. I like it, dude.
It looks good. My wife's not a big fan of it, but I said, "What are you going to do?" And I was like, "You're already married to me. Like, there's nothing you can do. I'm going to try this out. Like, you can, like, this is it. I've got nobody to impress at this point. Like, would I have been so bold as a single guy to try a mustache? I don't know, because they're hated.
You were in a fireman, so that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, mustaches get a bad rap thanks to him.
I feel like they're coming back a little bit, though. I think mostly thanks to the firemen. I feel like every fireman I see has a mustache.
Oh yeah.
And you know, the ladies out there, I feel like enjoy the fireman aesthetic.
We'll see. We'll see as it grows if my wife loves me anymore when I get this. If you know, she might not want to kiss me anymore, but you know, I still have my humor. So hopefully that's enough to balance out the mustache.
Yeah, and you're rocking the do up top, so you know.
Oh yeah. Well, funny thing is we're renting out a unit in our one park in Arkansas, and the guy's asking me about the rules for hosting guests, and I'm like, you know, we have quiet hours after 10, and that's just to be polite for neighbors. But yeah, as long as they don't stay like more than a few days, we don't consider them like part of the park. Like you can have people come and go. And he goes, because I am in charge of run a beard group for men, and that's beard is in facial hair. And I'm like, well, he's like, yeah, we get around and we talk about beards. And so there'd be people coming over and I host a bunch of guys. So I just wanted to make sure that's okay. I'm like,
that's an interesting group. Like I know guys like to talk about their beards, but it's usually like when they're doing something else and then they start talking about it. Not like I deliberately am going to drive to meet a group of men to talk about my beard.
Just beard. Yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming there's beer drinking going on while talking about beards.
Maybe I feel like the beard group is a cover for other things.
Well, that's I mean, well, I don't know. He does have a wicked beard though. It's like down to here in his photo.
Okay, so he's you know,
it's legit. I mean, he puts us to shame. So
yeah, no, that's fair. I have a friend who has a beard like that. I'm just like, phew.
I'm not doing that, dude.
He told me, because I'm trying to grow this thing, and I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. But he's like, yeah, you just gotta let it grow for a long time. And I looked like a guy that came out of like the forest, and I was there for 3 years. And then I went to California and went to this like fancy beard shop, and they made it clean. And all of a sudden, my family fell in love with my beard. I was like, so you gotta like just look horrible for years on end, and then you go get it cleaned up.
Well,
It's
for guys
weird.
like you, like my beard grows. Like I shaved last night, and this is what
Holy
it looks.
crap, dude.
I'm joking.
That would be impressive.
But yeah, I mean, I can have a full beard going. But yeah, I mean, the beards are just depends. It just depends on the food getting stuck in it and everything. But dude, just depends on the season. There's nothing better than having a beard in the winter. Beards are men's makeup.
Yep. Yeah.
Anyway,
I'll be making a decision by my birthday here in April whether this thing stays or not. So we'll see.
Oh, dude, that's tough. That's a tough decision. Good luck.
Thank you.
I wish that upon no man.
Yeah. Well, that was the and stuff part. So on to real estate.
Yeah, what's going on in the real estate world, bro?
Lots of things are going on in the real estate world. I'm intrigued to see what the economic pressure or whatever stuff is happening will affect real estate. I don't see it affecting real estate a ton. Do you?
Yeah.
You do? How?
I mean, so I look at things in an extreme. So I've been waiting for a crash. I was talking to my neighbor about this the other day, and like I've been waiting for a crash to happen for some time now. And
4
it's
years.
like, yeah, I mean, because the way I always describe it to people is if I could predict when it was going to happen, I'd be a billionaire. So, but the thing is, it's like anything in life, and it's eventually you have to get to the bad to get to the good. The good is not never ending perpetual thing. And it's like we've had this good run, and in the recession everyone's going to argue and say, well, we went into a recession in 2022. Like my neighbor's like, well, I've seen prices come down. I'm like, well, shit, you have. They've come down slightly, but they're still relative to where they should be. They're still up here. High. So because you saw them come here is not as balanced. That's not a real recession. It's not a deflationary recession, right? What we had was a recession with inflation. And things were still expensive, everything. So we may have seen rates go up, but prices generally stay in real estate anyway. And we saw the car market kind of take a dive, but those trucks are still 95 grand. Like they used to be 65, 70, and now they're 95. I saw a King Ranch for like $120. I mean, it's insane. Escalades that were 100 or $150.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was like, what I think is going to happen is I think Trump is going to destroy the economy. And I voted for it, right? On not just on, I guess on purpose, but I don't want to say on purpose maliciously. It's on purpose strategically. And it's like he asked, the Fed's not going to cut rates willingly. Like Powell's like, nah, dude, I'm not doing that. And the Fed's I can have a whole other conversation about that. But it's like, here you have Trump, and he understands that he has a legacy. And he's only got 4 years. And if Vance doesn't take over after the next 4, he potentially loses his legacy. He could do everything he wants, and somebody comes in and unravels it, and that's it. Right. So he's got to move fast enough for everybody to see what the good looks like on the back end, which is why he's moving at a pace we've never seen an administration move this way. Even when Clinton was able, with Gore, balancing the budget and cutting jobs and doing all that, and like
first positive deficit.
I was about to say he was the only one. Positive,
deficit. What's the term?
Surplus, right?
Surplus.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Surplus in the budget. Yes.
And I was too young to either like or hate Clinton. Like I don't know, but when I read that and study it, like I'm like, okay, that's solid. But even that took a while. Trump's doing it all right in such a quick time that I think he knows he's going to crash the market, and he's firing all these employees of the federal government. And I was telling my neighbor, I'm like, dude, like, let's just say he cuts. Let's say out of America, he cuts $100 billion worth of slush money going around funding transgender this, or a scientific study for this, or religious, or a House bill, whatever it is. That money goes into somebody's pocket, which then goes to a store, which then pays an employee, which then pays tax. All that's going away. And I was like, that's going to hurt. And I was like, that's not what happened in 2009, but it's a similar type of thing. 09, money just stopped getting spent.
Yeah.
And so we suffered. And so if all this happens and you have employees losing their job, money that's not getting spent, and tariffs that are causing things to go chaotic,
It's gonna crash.
Yeah. and so what happens is like you have, again, employees not having jobs, money not going around, asset prices go down. Before, asset prices went up because we had money.
Yeah.
We were printing money. Rates were low. We're printing money, and even 6.5 is still low comparative to history. And it's like, why would prices go down when people still have money? Although they're hurting, they still have that money. So I think what's going to happen is, I think in the next few months, I mean, some point this year, if Trump has his way, I think we're just gonna. The stocks are already struggling, crypto's struggling. It's like I welcome it. And I was talking to my uncle about it, and he's like, "Oh, well, that's not a good thing." And I'm like, "Well, it depends on how you look at it, because if we come out the other side with a balanced budget or a surplus, and we can realistically,
for consumers are lower."
And the only way you take away corporate greed, and I'm all about capitalism, but the only way you cut out the greedy corporations is by saying nobody's buying their product. That's the only pain point where they will lower their price. They're not going to willingly lower their price because they're like, "Oh, Trump's in office, the economy's good. Let's take it back on these people and let them save some money." They're going to say they've been paying it, so let's keep having them pay it. My ice cream just went up another 50 fucking cents. I looked at it and it's $6.50 now, and I'm like, dude, it was $5.99, and before that it was like $4.99 like a few years ago, and then it just kept going up, and now it's $6.59, and it was literally $5.99.
But you keep buying it. You're part of the problem.
Why do you think I'm wearing a hoodie right now?
No, I'm with you. Like, the only way that consumers will stop spending money is if they don't have money, or they have fear, or both. And that is the only way to fix anybody who's charging astronomical prices. Like, that's what capitalism is. Like, if people are going to buy it, demand is high, then the price will be high.
And you can't blame them. Like, I'm not going to blame you. We're not out here for the good will of people. Like, I know that's the hold-handing hippie way of saying things, but it's like everyone's out here to make money because it's one man's effort for another man's money. It's you're getting nothing's a right. You don't get the right to housing. You don't get the right because somebody had to give up their labor for that house. Somebody had to give up their labor for those products, and you think it's your right to get it cheap. So I guess, like, and you would say the argument I had with Badeber was, well, when things go down, everyone's going to be buying. That's not the psychology of people. Typically, when things go down, people still don't buy because they think it's going to either keep going down, or they're just afraid to spend the money because they're uncertain of what's going on. And if there's one thing Trump does, it's uncertainty.
Oh, yeah. That is true.
This guy is known with any logical person as the peace president, right? He doesn't want violence. And he says it. But the fact that he's Trump, people still think he's going to go to war. He's that unpredictable, where you would look back, like, I was thinking, like, why would anybody be afraid that this guy's going to do anything? He literally says he doesn't want war. He doesn't want this. He's never.
Well, his reputation, like, he knows war is risky.
But even the tariffs, put on a tariff, take the tariff off. Put on the tariff, take it off. And like other people are like, "Oh, he's going to do it." I'm like, he's probably just going to take it off whenever the other guy says he'll give him what he wants. So why is anyone worried about the tariff? It's the uncertainty that Trump plays into it. And so with Trump in office, that uncertainty, I think people are going to be afraid. I think media will fearmonger what that administration is doing to a point where people think this is the worst economy ever, and they're going to not want to spend money. And I think housing will come back at that point. I don't know how much. I have no idea. I'm not that intelligent, but it's just like, I don't see how we don't go into a deflationary recession.
Yeah. I would welcome a deflationary recession. It would definitely be nerve-wracking, but I feel like that's the only way things are going to get solved. Well, unless you're going to go after corporations, and Trump's not going to do that. So,
yeah, I mean, it depends on what you mean by go after them. But no, I mean, in the sense of, like, you need corporations to make the products, to supply the jobs and all that. But, like, I think Trump's ultimate plan, like, is if we could survive off the taxes of corporations,
But
That
isn't
would
he
be
doing a bunch of tax cuts for the corporations?
yes and no. Tax cuts, so that's a general thing. Like, oh, he's doing tax. Yeah, he's saying if you bring jobs in and you employ X amount of people, we'll give you a tax cut. But there's a cost benefit of that, right? Like, it's like you either don't get the jobs and you don't get the product and you don't get cheaper goods if you don't give that. So you're talking about like in excess. So he has said stuff like that, but he's also given tax cuts to the middle. Like his last tax cuts in 2017 benefited on a proportional percentage basis more middle class and lower income people than they did the wealthy when you look at like terms of percentages. And I think that now that he has this, and maybe you'll disagree, right? But like, I think now his goal is let's make money like a business, profit. Let's not tax the people as much or at all, right? The American people, and let's balance this budget and give the money back to the American people. Because when you do that, it drives the economy. So it's like this.
That would be nice if he did that. I don't know if I've seen
It's
those
this.
signs.
Well, think about this, right? Like, and this is like a perfect world scenario.
Mm-hmm.
He comes in, Elon Musk comes in and shows Trump, you can save all this money. Okay. Well, let's say we save $1 trillion or whatever it is. And we cut, and all these people lose their fucking jobs. Who cares? They all lose their jobs. And then at the same time, we have tariffs, we have mineral deals with these other countries where we're getting revenue based on what they do. And that's how Saudi Arabia does it. They have, yeah, I mean, you're shaking your head. You know, these other wealthy countries do this. And if we start doing that to where we go into like a balanced budget where we have, then we would have zero inflation. We would actually be able to use what we're making to be able to pay our debts. And part of that is the refinancing of the debt. So he needs to crash the economy to get lower interest rates to refinance at a lower rate to keep our debt payments low. So when Musk does that cutting and he does that tariffs, he can actually then pay the debt reasonably instead of at a 6.5%, 7% or whatever it is, 5%, whatever the back end debt rate is. And so if you have that, why do you need the people who make below 100 grand? Why do we need their income? Why do we need those taxes?
We don't.
We should. Personally, I don't think we should. And
Yeah.
I think it's crazy that we're mad at Elon Musk for going in. And even if some of it's bolstering, which I believe some of it probably is bolstering. I mean, it's what they do. But it's like, let's just say it is bolstering. Let's say even the majority of that is real. Half of it is real. And we cut all that off. Why would anybody not want that? This is our money.
Oh,
Like,
I agree, but I just don't agree with where the cuts are going. But
I agree. So here's why I agree where the cuts are going. And I think if you look at your household to my household, I have X amount of money coming in. I would love to go to Chipotle every night. I would love my kids to be in on these different sports. I would love to take a vacation. Now I have two choices. I can either make more money or put it on debit, like a credit card. Or the third final choice is not do it.
Do it.
So when we balance our house budget, we look at each other and we're like, you know, we can't do the fun, cool stuff if we don't make more money because we'll just go into debt and eventually that'll eat us alive. And America should be no difference. I'm all about scientific studies, research, funding, subsidizing, all these things that we do, but we shouldn't do it and go into debt. Like,
okay. But what about subsidizing oil, gas, and pharmaceuticals?
So again, it depends on the deals behind that. I'm not for just subsidizing so they make more money. I'm for are we getting a profit for that? Like, are we waiving stuff so we get money? So it all depends. And are we subsidizing them to bring in the jobs and increasing the jobs? So there's a lot of tools that could be made. And so, yeah, I get you're using where a lot of people are like the rich get richer, and they definitely do. But at the same point, like, I know everyone hates, like liberals hate when you say trickle down effect, but the trickle down effect is real. It does. Like, you were a business owner. When you made more money, your employees made more money.
I get that, and I do think that it is real to a degree.
To a degree. There's always greed. Human nature plays in to where sometimes with some things, it doesn't work that way. And I agree with that as well. But I think, like,
it's just hard to say that, like, when you're sitting here, all these things, I think it's so many moving strings like a puppet that I think it's hard to see what he's doing until it's done. And each one looks bad.
Yeah.
Right. You're cutting funding for like building houses for poor people. You know what? We shouldn't be building houses in Haiti if we have homeless people here. Like, I get it. We shouldn't be feeding Africa if we can't feed our people. We shouldn't be sending condoms to Gaza Strip if we have STD epidemic here. Like, and so it's the same thing as my house budget. It's like, I think all that money, we cut everything, no matter how bad it is and how bad it looks, focus on our people. And then when we have excess money, we go, what do we do with this excess money? The people are pissed off, and they're pissed, John, for the very people, like they're all mad at Elon Musk, right? But the people hating Musk and riling up the tribes of liberals and Democrats are the people that get paid $176K and are worth $70 million. Like, I don't know.
Not fully. I mean, sure. I guess.
What do you mean?
There's truth to that statement, but that's not the full picture, I don't think.
What do you mean?
Like, my sister-in-law's job is on the line. She works for the federal government. She's been doing it. She since college? Yeah, since college she's worked for the federal government.
100%. My aunt's worked for the federal government her entire life in the parks, and they're thinking about cutting, and they're not renewing leases and all that stuff. And it's like, I get you, dude, but you know what? Just because you have a federal job doesn't make it your job's not a guarantee.
I'm with you on that one for sure. Do you think the Pentagon should be audited, though? I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. Okay,
I think it's so. I can't, as a rational, logical person, I don't think I can apply one rule.
Right, that's what I'm like. I can see the theory behind this method, and I'm like, fine, do it everywhere.
100%. Do it everywhere. It should be every department, no matter what, should go through an audit, because there is waste. There is waste. Like, I was talking to my mom about my aunt because they were arguing. They didn't want to send the email. And her boss was telling her not to. And it's like, I'm like, does she want her effing job? Just send the email. Well, she's thinking about retiring anyway. I'm like, okay, well, I get it. But like, in no other business does the CEO ask for a report that you don't do it regardless of what your fucking manager says. Because I'm going to lose. But federal employees are like, I'm not going to do this. It's like, man, it's like 5 lines, dude. Like, just
I would love, like, email. I mean, this is, yes, it's right now, it's like weird. And like, I've seen a lot of people say, like, the government is not supposed to run like a business. And I can agree with that a little bit. But I'm like, the government is so inefficient as it is right now. And it's like, okay, so you're going to make all these cuts. That's fine. Whatever. Like, I could see I can understand the theory behind it. But it's like, how do you then, I hope they then continue. And it's like, okay, now we're here where we wanted to be. Like, how do we increase efficiency better so that we don't need to hire more people, and we can still maintain the services that people are currently relying on with the workforce that is now getting cut?
Let's put it this way. No matter who you are, what your beliefs are, and you and I differ in political, and we come together on some things. I've never met one person who has ever walked into a government facility and
enjoyed their experience.
Yeah, that place is running like a top. I've never had to, because they are inefficient. It's wildly inefficient. Like, even with Section 8, like, I'm dealing with them, like, never getting an email back. Like, they're always complaining about not having enough, like, houses to place people. But then here I am emailing you like 3 times in a week, and you can't bear to fucking respond to me. I call in and no one knows it. There's a lot of inefficiency.
So I want to see the plan for that. Like, that's what I'm really curious about.
Well, that's a state thing. So I guess
there are some, because I was thinking the DMV here works great in Gainesville, but that's, the Gainesville.
You know, the smartest thing I heard was, so I don't even know who this was. I think it was the guy who runs the post office. Was basically, I don't know if you read that article.
Postmaster General? I haven't read that.
Yeah, well, whoever it is, right? I can't speak to it. I'm pulling from memory of, it was like an interview or something that I had seen a month or 2 ago. And he was like, and again, I don't know if this is actually happening, but his suggestion was, we have all these employees at the Postal Service. He's like, the U.S. Census Bureau spends X amount of money, but who shows up to the same houses every day? He goes, I have X amount of employees that go to these houses every day, and we're paying them already. Why aren't they knocking on the door, handing the thing and tabulating for this census? We could save X billion. And he's like, taxes? He goes, because there's 3 departments in the tax department, and one of them is like the administration and the documents. He's like, why are we have this in this office? We have these postal employees that go every day. Here you go. Here's your form. Here you go. I got your form. He's like, and I was like, that's genius. Like, you literally have this group of minions. They're on the ground.
Do it on the phone.
Well, no, because again, you are paying somebody already. So they went through, it was a different post where they went not auditing the IRS, but breaking down the IRS budget. Yeah. And like over a third of it was in that part, just services.
Yeah.
And they're like, if it's all online, why do we need this? And I guess basically it's like, if you do need people, why aren't we using the postal service, which loses money?
Right.
And get them to help us save money somewhere else. And I was like, so I think, and I'm speaking to the inefficiency. It's like, I think if you start synergizing things, but that guy's obviously speaking like a business person, and Trump's thinking like a business person. Musk is thinking like a business person. Maxine Waters and all them are basically just like, this is the government. Like, you shouldn't audit us. And it's like, why shouldn't we audit you? You audit me. Like, this is my money. You're literally taking my money.
Yeah.
And like, I want to know what's happening to it. So, but I do think you should audit everybody. I love guns. I love I'm not going to say I love war, but I love our defense and the ability that like we do scare people with how big our military is. But at the same point, like, I always question, I'm like, I don't understand how these defense manufacturers stay in business, because like, if there is no war, who are they making the weapons for? And then like,
that's what they're predicting more, and they're like,
exactly. And if we keep buying more weapons, then don't we have enough weapons? Then why do they keep making more weapons? What happens? And none of it computes like logically in my mind. I'm like,
no, it doesn't at all
compute. Like, and why are there so many of these defense manufacturers making all this stuff? And it's like, and then there's the research budget that we put into new. And I kind of like, okay, like we have to stay ahead of these things. Like, I get that, but you can't tell me that there's not some kickbacks going on in there. Like, you can't tell me.
No. Are you kidding me?
How much did that
plane cost? What is it? $2 trillion, something like that? It doesn't work very well.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, but I believe it. Like,
the Raptor, the new Raptor, whatever it's called.
It's like California spending what, $80 billion to solve homeless, and they didn't solve homeless. And it's like, that would, if they just gave that money to each homeless person, each one would have like 100,000. Yeah, they would have enough money to go buy a house or some shit. It's like, it's the government is inefficient, and it's the high, there's reasons or examples of highway systems and railways and all these things that the government tries doing. So capitalism plays a part, but like, I was reading stories, and I don't know if it's true, of like contracts being automatically renewed for things that expired, and money just keeps getting sent out. And it's like, yeah, that may be in this, but if it's here,
better damn believe it's everywhere else.
And that includes the defense. That includes all these things. And it's like, and Elon Musk was our
hero. Have a chicken?
Bro, listen, I'm not even going to get into this chicken thing, okay?
Okay, keep going. I'm like, why do I hear a chicken?
I have multiple roosters. I don't even know where this other rooster came from, but the one rooster was all alone.
They're not yours? They just come to your house?
No, they're mine now, I guess. My kids have been chasing them for 3 weeks. This is every morning my girls wake up saying cockadoodle, cockadoodle, and I have to walk them around the yard trying to find this effing cockadoodle. And then it's like we watch it through the windows. It's like watching TV, and
that's hilarious. I've never heard. I mean, I guess we haven't done a podcast this early before, but that's hilarious.
This is new. No, okay. He does it all day. Normally, he's over. I have like an acre, and he's on like the far part of my yard. Yeah. I'm on the back portion of my acre, and lately, in the past couple of days, he's decided to hang out behind this wall.
Great for you to work through. You still doing like 5 a.m. starts?
Yeah. It doesn't matter, John. He cockadoodles all day long.
It's amazing.
He's a retard. I think he's got Down syndrome.
Anyway, sorry, what were you saying?
And we're getting off the thing, but when it comes to houses, like I don't see how we get through this without a recession that will affect our assets.
Yeah, but you think that, like, how do you feel like you think it's going to be good for investors?
Oh, yeah.
I mean ultimately, all recessions are a great place to buy. And then there is this trouble, can you sell? But if it's priced right, everything usually sells. And usually first-time home buyers. There's a lot of people that can't afford the prices right now and would love cheaper prices.
So, like, I was lucky enough to come into the recession at I'm not going to say the bottom, but like at near somewhere around, like I came in 09, the end of 09, 2010. And so I wasn't holding anything. So you're saying, is it good for investors? I know a lot of investors it wasn't good for.
Oh yeah, when they hold. Yeah. I'm talking wholesalers. Sorry, let me be more specific. I'm talking wholesalers because that's
it just depends. I think it just depends for them too. It's like I'm not a fan of like the wholesaling industry as a total anymore because it's like it's such a low barrier to entry. You have these different classes of wholesaler. And it's like, I think a lot of wholesalers will be fine, but then you have the ones that are going to put stuff under contract incorrectly, tie people up, and you need to be educated on foreclosures. So like if what happens, we might have an increase in the foreclosure rate. And that's a whole different type of wholesaling. And you have to be a different type of person to be able to manage that process. Because if you tie it up, and this guy's going to get foreclosed on because you didn't do it right and like you can't work that process, I think that's going to be a problem. Yeah. But yeah, I think wholesalers will be fine in the grand scheme of the industry. Yeah. We just didn't have wholesalers back then like we do now. I mean, we waited for the realtors in the foreclosure market to come on, and we bought off the MLS back kind of like Rick was talking about when we had him on the podcast the other week. I mean, we went to the MLS to buy deals. I was buying all my flips off the MLS.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
Clear out some of these realtors too.
Yeah, I mean, I would love that, but I think the only way to clear out realtors is to increase the difficulty of getting the license.
Well, if there's less things selling, then that
doesn't mean anything. Okay, listen, if it's less things selling, then yes, they will leave. But at the same point, every day people are like, I want to become a realtor.
True.
You know what I mean?
Like every day people are like, I want to be a wholesaler.
Yeah, and it's like, I forget the stat now. I'm so far out of that, but it's like what 10% or I think it's 15% of realtors do all the business. The other 85% don't do a deal.
I
think 10% of them do like one. The average realtor does between 1 to 2 deals a month. I mean, that's typically you're doing about 12 deals. To do 24 is pretty big for a realtor. And again, nowadays, like when I was doing deals back in 2010, I was doing like 30 my first year. I mean, I worked up from like 16 to 30 to 60 up to like 100 deals, like selling houses during that time frame. But my houses were like 50K, 100.
Are you talking about the BPOs?
No, I'm talking about selling houses.
Okay, yeah,
being a realtor, like on my license. Yeah. But I wasn't making. If I sold 100 houses today at today's prices,
you'd be making a killing.
But bro, I was selling like $20,000 houses, 50K houses. You know what I mean? Like I'm making like $1,500 on like a commission, and I'm trying. I'm doing, and with the banks, like and I cheated because I call it cheating when you have a contract with a bank to do foreclosures because it's like free listings. But dude, I'm doing like the BPOs for them. I'm hiring the contractors, all this stuff. I'm paying the bills and getting reimbursed. Like you're doing all that for $1,500. It's like
it's a small profit margin there.
So it's different nowadays. You could sell one house a month. That's $400K, get 2.5%. You're making like $8,000 after commission splits. Like, not bad, especially if you got a spouse that also works. Like, so although they'll leave, I think the barrier to make money and to get that license is so low and how much they can make on a deal. Now, if you went back 10 years and that person sells one house a month and they're only making $2,000 a month, that's a completely different thing. Like I had to sell a lot of homes in order to make money because in Polk County, I mean, I remember selling a $300K house once and the person was like rich. I was like, holy fuck, this guy's like fucking loaded. Like you could buy anything you wanted in Lakeland for like $300K. You literally could like go into the best neighborhoods for if you had $500,000, you were on the lake or something. Like you were rich. And typically we're dealing with the $80,000 homes and stuff. Like that was your husband, wife.
What's the median home price in Lakeland now?
I don't actually know, but I'm going to guess based on what I see, like $400K.
Good God.
Like I was talking to my neighbor. I had sold them. I sold them that house, and like we were talking about it, and he was just. I was like, bro, like I get you need more space, but like, where like any house that you're gonna look at with like a 3.2 or 4.2, you're spending $400 to $500,000. Crazy. I don't know their financial situation, but like,
seems nuts.
Compared to owning a house for like $150 and you've owned it for a while and your mortgage is probably like $800 and you're so used to that excess savings, like it's a big. So I think you have that, dude. Like those people can't step up into houses, John. Like my neighbor cannot, again, I don't know their situation, but I have to assume based on what I know that to go from the house now to a $400K house in the neighborhood they want to be in, right? We're not talking about them moving out into the sticks and buying a cheaper property. They want to be in town.
Yeah.
So 350, 400K at a 6.5% interest.
That's what I'm saying. I'm wondering if we have a recession and home prices go down, first time home buyers who are renting like me, right? Like I don't want to drop 6.5% interest on a 400K. Like I would love to see the price house.
Well, you would. No, I disagree with that. You would if you thought that that house was worth it and would keep going up, but you're afraid that I mean, 6.5% is not bad if houses were 250 grand.
Right. Correct. That's true. Yes.
But houses were 3% interest in 400 grand, and now they're 6% interest in 390 grand. It's like, and so it doesn't, and that's what I'm saying for him. And I'm like, bro, like you think about putting a second story on, that's probably cheaper than you going, because if he bought it for, I'm making these numbers up. Let's say he bought it for 150, and that thing's not probably worth maybe 300.
Yeah.
Okay. But if that 2.2 is worth 300, 350, what do you think an F and 4.2 twice the size is worth that he wants to step into?
Yeah.
So even if he takes that 150 profit and puts it as a down payment, you're still, let's say, on a 600K house, he's still paying a mortgage on 450. Like that's still 3 times the mortgage that he's paying now, and he's not making any more money.
No. Yeah.
So like I don't know. Like I see that you have to have asset prices come down, and the only way is for the economy to take the shit. But I believe in Trump to think to the extent that he knows that this is going to happen. And I think enough that he wants his legacy bad enough that he has a plan that he is purposely going to crash it. And he's got, and I don't know what it is, but a master plan in the background that if all pans out, he's going to scoop it back up and say, look what I did for you. And I have to bank on that. And so I think there could be a year of just like struggling. So what do? Right? Like in our house, like we're getting rid of everything with a payment. Like we're getting rid of our storage unit. That's $500 a month. I'm looking at buying like a Land Cruiser for my wife in cash, getting rid of her car payment. And you start going back and forth on these things. And it's like, because when I was in 2009 during the recession in 2010, my entire ethos all the way up to like 2015, when I was really making money and like all that happened, like it was no payments. Like even when I bought my house, it was like I was working on this very tight budget. I knew where my safety net was, no matter how much I was making. And I was like, I need to keep my living expenses. But then when you make money in a sloshy economy, house gets more expensive, cars get more expensive. You add on a storage unit, extra cell phones, internet, cables, TVs, $15 here, $20 there. It starts to add up, and you're eating away at your income. So like, I remember I got advice from somebody way back in the day, and that was their advice, was to keep my monthly expenses low, because in real estate, you never know what it, and he had been somebody who survived a couple pullbacks, and it's like, you never know what's going to happen. And just because you're making a shit ton of money now doesn't mean when that happens, you're not. And there's nothing worse than selling your stuff in a recession versus before the recession.
Yeah.
So like, I even talked to my mom, like she's getting rich. She bought a brand new GV80 a couple years ago. It's a Genesis, like the SUV, like a luxury thing. And she's paying like $1,200 a month on that payment, right? And I'm like, Mom, like, do you really need that? Like, you have a free car sitting up in Pennsylvania. I was like, it's paid off, and it's an SUV just like this. I was like, why don't you ship that down and sell this thing? And so she thought about it, and she's doing it. Her car came down last night. She's got an appointment on Saturday to go to CarMax or whatever, and she's going to make a few you know what I mean? Like what she owes versus what.
Yeah.
And it's like, everyone needs to prepare for these things, because that $1,200 a month, if you get laid off, or if, you know what I mean, what you're making less money, is going to drain you. And it's a slow drain. It's a slow bleed of trying to keep up with the Joneses in a recession. And I foreclosed on so many people for the banks that were doing exactly. They didn't want to give up their liabilities and their lifestyle, and it bled them slowly.
Yep. Hopefully everybody's smart.
I mean, who was it? I think I forget his name, but he's the Investor Fuse customer. I saw him making a post about like other people gave him that advice. Nothing about a recession. but it was about the stress.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it was like he had I forget, and I'm gonna botch this, but it was like he had like a $6,000 mortgage, and he had like a $4,000 in car payments, and he had, you know what I mean, like, and he started adding it up on Instagram, you know, and those things, and he's typing it, and he's like, my house now is like $1,200 or $1,500. He's like, you know, we have paid off, we bought like cash cars or whatever it was, and it's like he's like, now I know I don't need to make as much in my business and be so stressful just to carry my personal income load, my personal expense load.
Yep.
And he's like, now I can focus more on growing my business without worrying so much that I think the total he had to make like 20 grand a month personally, just
before he cut,
but just personally to pay all of his personal living expenses. He was carrying in his family business, like his family budget, 20, almost, I think it was 18 or 20 grand worth of, and he was like, I got to cut all this back.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I used to be there back when I was making all that, and you know, because I talked to you about it. And like my personal nut, dude, between my personal and my business was 50 grand almost. Between all my employees, my business, my offices, my house, my cars, all the fun stuff I had about, like everything. And bro, like that's a huge nut to carry.
Oh yeah, huge stress.
Like you have to do that every month. But when you take that away and you can just still make that, it's a huge difference. It's like, and so going into a recession, or if you're that uncertain about Trump or you don't like Trump, you should really be worried about it. And then you should really cut your expenses back. What don't you need anymore?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, do you see people canceling their CRMs and stuff and like getting, because that's the first stuff that goes, right? Like is extra softwares, subscriptions.
We're not seeing anything right yet. I mean, I feel like this is new in the last 2 weeks that the risk uncertainty index is going up or down. I don't even know.
3 weeks it's been going. Yeah.
So yeah, we might start to see some effects come next month for sure. We'll have to report back on that.
I don't know, man. I mean, I think it'll be good though. I do. I think, and not just to make money, like obviously that's what we're here to talk about is like real estate, buying deals cheap, and like, yeah, dude, like, but I think it'll be good because it's like we can get back, and at some point the United States will cease to exist as we know it today if we don't get our deficit under control.
Oh yeah.
It's and the fact that people are upset about it boggles my mind. Like, I get you might not like how it's happening. I get John, you may not like that the whatever is getting cut, or my aunt may not like that the parks budget's getting cut. I get it. But you know as well as I do, any successful task undertaken is always going to have its haters or its enemies or the people against it. But we've all tried it before. The Obama, like everyone has said, they're going to cut things, they're going to do it, and no one's been successful. Any way they've tried it, just couldn't do it. Yeah. So Trump's got a way, and it seems to be working. Whether it's 100% nothing's 100% accurate. And even Elon Musk said, I'm not going to be right all the time. Like, I'm going to make mistakes. And Trump's like, hey, I'm going to give you good, but there's going to be bad. And people are angry because they're like, I just want the good. Like, I don't want you to cut this. I want you to cut this other stuff. And it's like, that's not how this works.
No.
And like, but if we could get it under control, we can maintain and build back, and hopefully egg prices come down. I mean, I just paid $10 for a dozen, and it's like, bro.
Egg prices aren't related to inflation, though.
No, it's that and the killing of the chickens. But yeah, and the killing of the chickens is a whole other story. I watched a video of them just smothering the chickens to kill them, and I was like,
bird flu. It's real.
Yeah. Isn't it?
It is.
Real? Is it real, John?
It's in cows now. That's why your ice cream is really going out.
I bet it is. It's in my sister. My sister, I used to think was crazy. She was like 5 years older than me, and you know, she was like, she was just a happy-go-lucky girl, and she was always walking around going, "Control the food, control the people." And I thought my sister was effing crazy. I'm like, all right, John, like, I get you, bro. Like, little cuckoo, like, okay, against conspiracy theory. She was a conspiracy theory. Now, control the food, control the people. Like, I get it now. Like, I get what they're doing. Like, it's, I don't know.
Trump's still killing chickens.
Yeah, well, is he?
Yeah, he hired back all the bird flu people.
Did he?
Yeah.
We need to stop killing some fucking chickens. I mean, I get it. Listen, if there really is, and it's really that serious, I get it. But I just feel like sometimes it's one of those things where you just don't know what to believe anymore, because if it's not, so it's the lab grown meat they're pushing through. It's the appeal stuff they want to put on your vegetables and fruits to make it last longer.
Yeah.
It's the push for insects in food. And now it's you just like, where do I stop believing that like this is not a part of a bigger plan? I'm not saying it's not true.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I didn't believe it with Biden. Do I believe it just because it's Trump? Like, I don't know. I just feel like some of the shit, and I think a lot of the problems with the food is the meat packing industry, but there's a lot of guys out there trying to change that. And like, I'm really excited about like the farm to table stuff where like these young generation kids are coming into their parents and grandparents' farms and saying, hey, we stop selling to them and let's sell direct to the customer.
That's what we want to start doing. We have a farmer's market.
That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
Well, we want to look. So somewhere, and John, you let me know if you find it. But like, I started looking. I was trying to find one closer to me, but there's some up, not towards you, but like towards the coast. I forget the town. It's like that whole farming area up there, and then down south, like towards Okeechobee.
Yeah.
There's a lot of farms where you could buy half a cows and stuff.
Oh yeah, there's huge farms out. I can't remember. Like White Oak, I feel like is out near you.
Yeah.
Is it White Oak?
Maybe. But like, we've been working on cleaning up our garage and stuff, and we want to put like a deep freeze in there and then buy our meat in bulk and like just get that and buy eggs locally too. And it's like, I think more and more people, but guess what? You know what I always say? Everything reverts back to the way it was, reverts back to the meat. Do you know how we used to get our meat, fucking chickens? We used to go to I'm telling you, it's just a big cycle, dude. And I think now our generation is getting sick and tired of this. We're all tired of it. I don't know what I'm eating anymore. It's like, I literally the other day, I walk in and I need some grass-fed beef. They did not have any grass-fed steak. So this is my thought, like literally my thought. I want steak bad. And so I'm like, I can have steak or I can not eat steak because it's not grass-fed organic meat.
Yeah.
Or I can buy this one and risk the chance of getting some type of cancer chemical, glyphosate or whatever it is injected in me.
And then you have to make that choice.
And I'm like, is it worth the risk?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I really want it. Like, and then I'm like, it's just one steak. Like, is that really going to mess me up? I've been eating organic grass-fed. If I just get this one steak, is that going to do any? And the fact that I have to think that, I think is crazy. I don't know. It's like you have a choice.
I wish more Republicans like you were on the organic train.
I think there's a whole shit ton of us. Like I think that's a bipartisan thing. Do you really think that's?
No, I do agree. That's what I'm saying. Like I want that should be a bipartisan thing. Like
I think the problem is
human
generation. I think the reason why you said that is I think Republicans have this thing of being older, right? And it's this different generation. And like trying to convert my uncle. My uncle is sick, and I was trying to explain to him like about food. My mom, who when she moved in with us, didn't understand like the organic, because they come from a generation where you never worried about that.
Yeah,
you trusted the food and the ingredients, and because they could back then, you literally could. Like there was none of that. And so I think that's it. But our generation,
oh yeah, no, I agree with you.
Is now, and so I think that's why people say like, oh, left or right. But I think it's just ages. I think it's an age thing.
So we just need more young people in the.
But the problem is like my daughter, who's now shopping on her own, doesn't understand it. She said,
really?
I took her shopping, and I was like, okay, let's practice. And when you're up at college, what do you do? And she goes, well, I just try to buy what we buy, at home. Like I remember what it looks like, and I just try to buy it. And I was like, yeah, but what do you look for? And so like we're looking at, and I'm trying to teach her this stuff because although they kind of know, They don't. So we now have to teach the next generation, which is kind of sad that I'm like, okay, do you see the back of this citric acid? That's bullshit. It's not what you think it is. Okay. Natural flavors is not a natural flavor. They have to make that flavor. And I was like, okay, do you see, if you can't pronunciate the word, put it down. I was like, look at what the first ingredient. So she's like, well, I was like, what kind of milk you buy? Well, I don't drink milk. I drink oat milk. I was like, what do you mean? That's not milk. And I was like, does it have nipples?
She drinks oat milk? Just straight?
No, she mixes it with stuff, coffee, all that. Okay. I'm like, it's not milk. And I go, let's look at the ingredients. And I was like, what do you think the first ingredient is? And she goes, I don't know. Or almonds. I'm sorry, it was almonds, not oat. And she goes, an almond? And we looked, and I said, it's water. I said, you're drinking water almonds. I was like, you're paying $6 for like a half a gallon of water that they soaked with almonds.
Come on, most of cow's milk is water too.
That's not necessarily true, bro.
Yes, it is. How do you think it's liquid?
I mean, it comes out liquid and then they pasteurize it, turns into a more liquidized form, but they're not there. It's not the first ingredient on milk. I can't speak to it.
I don't think milk. I wonder if milk even lists water as an ingredient, because you'd have to put it through a centrifuge and pull out what's in milk. I'm just making it.
I don't actually.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
You threw me for a loop because I've never looked at the ingredients on a milk label. But
how do you think milk gets made? You got to drink water to make milk. I'm not arguing that people should.
I mean, internally, the cow drinks
water. Has to
yeah.
Water to make milk.
Oh, I'm with you. I thought you were talking about like
no, they don't mix it.
Yeah, well, that's what they do in the almonds, right? Is like,
yeah.
And so, and I'm like, why are you paying $6 for almond water? I was like, just go buy some fucking almonds. Eat one almond. You're gonna get the same amount of nutrients.
How much money do you pay for your coconut water?
Oh, dude, it's up now. So these things used to be like $4, and again $4.55, and I think they're $5.50 now. Yeah. And it's like, oh, that hurts.
You're welcome.
Man, hey, bro, like, where's it coming from?
Comes from California. I'm pretty sure those are imported.
Thailand. It's this product to Thailand. I mean, it's everything, John. It's literally like, and the fact that, like, I don't know, when you can noticeably notice the price increases in such a short time frame, it's not like they're going 10 cents here and 10 cents there. It's like literally 50-cent jumps on products. And like, so I brought home avocados, organic avocados, and they're the same price as they were. My wife accused me of I'm literally getting yelled at for fucking up shopping. And she's like, why did you do this? You know, you're supposed to buy the bag of 4. I'm like, I just bought a bag. Like, what was ever in the bag? I bought the bag. She's like, but they come in a bag of 4. You paid the same price for a bag of 3. You got ripped off. And I'm like, this is what they had. I just grabbed it. No, John, I went back to the store the next day, the next shopping trip, and look, they now have taken one avocado out.
Oh, and it's the same price.
And now it's a 3 bag for the same price. And I didn't. No one, like, it's like the Girl Scout cookies where they slowly, like, take away, they give you less and less cookies, but charge you more and more. We're getting it's called shrinkflation. They're shrinkflating us because they're keeping the price the same and giving us less product.
Because they're greedy.
Bro, it's insane.
I'll wait for the day when you start growing your own vegetables.
I mean, we tried that.
It's hard. We have tried as well.
It's not hard to do. It's hard to be consistent when you're as busy.
And yeah, you got to go watch out. What bug is eating it today?
Yeah. 100%. That happened to us. I mean, we successfully grew beans and some cucumbers, but our lettuce got destroyed. I mean, you know. So
find the local farmers.
I mean, it's just six to one, half a dozen to another, what it is or what's going on. But and I don't think a recession is going to cure the food problems or the house problems.
Oh, no.
But I think it's going to be a huge start to it.
Yeah, for sure.
But we'll see.
Well, that was for sure real estate or a stuff and some real estate podcast. I've got to go pack my car.
Yeah, dude. I gotta go get ready for dealing with tenants. Good luck with your turtle hunting.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. Should be fun, as usual.
Take that Subi out.
Yeah, we got to take both cars, dude. I just had to get the van fixed. Oh man, I used a local different mechanic now. The price was less, but still expensive.
Yeah,
brakes, coolant leak, oil leak, brakes. It's good.
This is why I'm getting an old Ford truck that I can work on in my garage. I haven't worked on my vehicles since I was in my teens and 20s. Like, I'm excited. Like, I'm getting an old diesel, and like I've been cleaning out my garage. I get all my tools out of storage because I literally packed all my mechanic tools. Everything I had in my 20s was been stored away for a decade, bro.
Oh man.
Like, I just put it in storage. Yeah. Maybe not a decade, but it's been a while, I think, since before COVID. And like, I'm like, dude, I can't wait to do all this again. Because when I had my Ram truck and stuff and my wife's car, dude, like, you open the hood and it's like, where is everything? Like, there's so much wiring and stuff. I remember I went to jumpstart somebody. I was driving the Genesis and somebody was broken down, and I pulled over to be a good Samaritan. We lifted the hood, and I know the guy, right? It was in a parking lot at the club, and I was like, we lifted the hood. I'm like, hey man, let me jump you. And we both, two full grown men, looked at the battery. Where's the battery? I'm like, I don't know. Like it's usually like right here.
Yeah.
We looked, we're like peeking down, we're like shining our phone, and I was like, I think this is it. And he goes, listen, man, I really appreciate it. I call my son. He's going to come and jump me. I'll just wait longer. I don't want to mess your vehicle up. And I go, yeah, man. Like, I don't know. This is the most embarrassing thing. Cause like, where's the battery? Still to this day, I don't know where the battery is on that car.
Talking about jumping though. Can't recommend it. This is a product placement. Can't recommend this thing enough. This thing has jumped more cars than cars can actually jump the car.
That tiny, huh?
And then you just plug in the cords and charges with USB. This is the best jumper I've ever encountered in my life.
What's it called?
It's a Schumacher.
Huh. Schumacher.
Highly recommend. And then you don't ever have to risk your car jumping somebody else's.
So I will, So speaking, I just want to say this because I'm pretty proud of my daughter for this. Shoemaker car charger jumper. There, I'm Googling it. So my daughter went to the beach the other day with her friends. She didn't drive, but like before I would get my daughter a car, I didn't get it for her, she paid for it. But before I would let her get her own vehicle, I went through how to take care of a car. And like I tested her like multiple times. I'm like, all right, go out, change the tire. And first I showed her and then I'd walk away, make her do it again. And then later on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, she calls me and this was weird because it was like, she knows I'm in bed and it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, holy fuck, something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like super excited. She's like, Dad, guess what? And I'm like, what? And she's like, my friend's car broke down. I'm like, are you okay? Do I need to Paramount? Do I need to come get you? Where are you? She's like, no. We're back driving again. I just wanted to tell you that she didn't know how to change her tire, but I did because you taught me. And we pulled off to the road, but it wasn't safe. And she had no road flares with her dad. So we had to pull into like a driveway to where it was flat, level ground and safe. And I changed the tire myself. I'm like,
nice. You know what? Our van never came with a spare tire.
That sucks.
It has like those, you blow it up and then it injects. So my Subaru, we have the small Subaru, so it comes with a donut. If you get the bigger Subarus, they come with that actual tire. But I'm very excited to have a car with an actual tire to change again. Now I can teach my kids how to change a tire because, like, literally since they've been like aware enough to know how to do that, like I've not had the ability like a car that I could change the tire on.
It's such an essential. Like I felt really proud in that moment because, and I didn't say I told you so, but I remember all the arguing. Why am I going to need this? I'll just call AAA. I'll just call you. I'm not going to need it. Well, you know what? When you're on the back highway coming from Anna Maria, coming up through like South fucking bum, cow pastures, you ain't calling anyone, bro. It's the middle of the night. Like, so it came in handy. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's nice to be able to do that, but you're right. A lot of cars don't come with spares anymore. They come with this like run flat spray, and I think that's the dumbest thing.
I don't totally agree with you. We couldn't believe it because we had a Dodge Grand Caravan before that had a spare tire in it, and we're like the Chrysler was going to as well. And then we purchased the car, and we're like, where's the tire? Not there.
I'm with you, dude. That's aggravating.
All right, I gotta go pack a car.
All right, later, man. Lock and load, everybody.
Have a good weekend. See you guys next week.